What is going on, online fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives, Make Money Online Trainer podcast. This is the #1 show for online fitness coaches who are trying to grow a successful online business. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 3 mistakes that you guys are making on fitness sales calls. And frankly, I want to give you guys the ability to start closing more clients on the phone. Now, before we get into today's podcast, I want to read out a rating that I got on the podcast from my guy, Stay King Fitness. He said, yo, great energy. I love the mindset. I'm tuned in every single day for some fire. So Stay King, I appreciate that. Thank you for the rating. Guys, if you're getting value from the podcast and you want to leave me a rating, all you have to do is go to the Apple Podcast app, go to the Change Lives, Make Money Online Trainer podcast, scroll all the way to the bottom. I have like 350 episodes, so there's a little bit of scrolling involved. But then you can leave a rating and a written review. And if you leave me a written review, I'll give you a shout out on the podcast. Also, for those online trainers that like winning money, at the end of March, I'm giving away $1,000. All you have to do is screenshot any podcast episode, share it to your Instagram stories, tag me at BMarkFit. Let me know that you're tuning in, and I'm going to enter you to win $1,000 cash. All right, so let's talk sales calls today. Let's talk sales calls. Out of curiosity, and I know the answer to this, so that's okay. How many of you guys have ever had somebody say no to you on the phone? Super frustrating. For me, when I was an online fitness coach, when I first got started in my online coaching journey, the most frustrating thing was when somebody would reach out to me and ask for my help, and then I get on the phone and they'd say no. It's super frustrating. Sometimes it feels like you're wasting a good 45 minutes of your time and your energy for nothing because you don't get paid to get on the phone with a prospect. Sometimes that leaves you feeling like, why do I suck at sales? And why is nobody buying from me? Maybe it's because of COVID, or maybe it's because of all of these other like external reasons. The economy's bad. When in reality, it all comes down to how you're pitching and presenting on the phone. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to give you guys the ability to teach you how to close more sales calls, because my goal with this episode is this isn't just about like making money. We change lives, then we make money. So I want you guys to be able to positively impact more people in their fitness journey. I also want you guys to get paid healthily for doing that, so that selling becomes easy and effortless and not sleazy. So you get better at turning somebody who DMs me into like saying, I'm interested, into somebody that's actually going to become your paying client. So I'm going to talk about my own online fitness coaching journey, because when I was an online fitness coach, I started back in 2013, 2014. And back when I started online fitness coaching and like helping people with training and nutrition online, there wasn't really a lot of people doing it. And so I was a fitness competitor. I looked the part. I was traveling all around the world and I was doing fitness competitions. And so literally I would just send people my prices over DM. And it was fairly easy to enroll clients. I looked the part, so people could tell that I knew what I was talking about. And so when I got somebody that would message me being like, hey man, like, can I pay you to draw me up a training and nutrition plan? I literally would just send them my prices online. I would just send them over DM. Now in 2015, the market started to get a little bit more saturated, and I started hiring coaches to work for me in my business. So 2015, it was just me at first. But then once I got to 10K a month, I started hiring other trainers and like mentoring them to work for me. And so once I started hiring other online trainers, I couldn't just teach them how to sell over DM. I had to teach them how to get on the phone with people. Now, when I first added sales calls to my process, you guys, I wasn't very good. I think that there's like a big misconception with sales that you're either good or you're not good. Like you either have sales abilities or you don't have sales abilities. I'm going to be honest with you. The first few sales calls that I got on, like I was not very good at them. In fact, in November 2015, I was making $2,500 a month. I actually have the bank statement. And so I had to practice getting good on sales calls. And the only way that you get good at something is through repetition. I want you guys to imagine the first time that you've ever, stepped into a squat rack. Like I think we all remember the first time that we squatted. For me, mine was atrocious. Like mine was really bad. But then over time, you practice and you learn the right form and you like learn the right movement patterns, and then you get better at squatting, and now it becomes automatic. See, sales calls will become like that for you in your coaching program. And don't get me wrong, like online fitness coaches, if you guys want to get to $10,000 a month and you want to make money, like it's cool that you want to help people, but if you want to help people and that's all you want to do, then tell your landlord that you're helping people and see if he lets you pay your mortgage with that. Right? Like you need to make money in order to survive. And so this podcast is going to teach online trainers that want to make money by doing what they're passionate about, how to get on sales calls better. So first things first is like repetition. Every single day, 5 times a week, I would role play with my business partner. His name's Cole Da Silva. We would jump on a role play call. I would practice pitching him for 30 minutes, and then he would practice pitching me for 30 minutes. And we did this 5 times a week. This sort of time investment that, Obviously, this required a lot of time. It was an hour a day, 5 days a week. Now, obviously, this was a time investment, but that time investment ended up paying off because when we get on sales calls, we were already practiced at overcoming objections. And that 5 hours a week that we put in for like 6 months to a year, what ended up happening is like, instead of closing 1 in every 3 calls, it was like 2 in every 3 calls. And then it was like 4 in every 5 calls. And so our closing rate was much higher because we practiced. And so first things first is like, I think it's really important to practice the skill set of sales. Like that's like the first kind of lesson. But I'm just going to let you guys know, like in November 2015, my business was at $2,500 a month. And through practice and repetition, by July 2018, we made $54,000. And the biggest reason was practice. Now let's talk about the 3 mistakes that you guys 100% are making on calls that will lead to you not closing clients. I want you guys to write this down if you're taking notes. Number one, the first mistake that you can make in terms of selling clients in your program is saying no for them before the call. Saying no for them before the call. How many of you guys get like anxious or nervous or like super freaked out before you get on a sales call? And then maybe you start thinking thoughts like, man, like it's COVID right now. I don't even know if they're going to buy. Like, I don't really know if there's a point on getting in this call. Like they seem in the DMs, they seem like they were broke anyways. They're only 18. They're probably not going to be able to afford my program. Like, man, I don't know if I'm ready to be pitching this program. Like if you get nervous and anxious before the call, thinking that they're going to say no, you've already lost. Like there's no point on getting on the call. You've already lost the sale before you open your mouth, because it's not just what you say, it's also how you say it. And it's the belief behind what you're saying. And so if you're on the phone with somebody and there's an internal part of you that doesn't think that you should be on that call, or there's an internal part of you that thinks that they're going to say no, that's going to come across in the way that you deliver that message. And there's a lot of people that go into sales calls. There's a lot of online trainers that go into sales calls deciding already in their head, I'm not very good at sales. Have you ever said that to yourself? I'm not very good at sales. Or, oh man, I don't think this prospect's going to have any money. Have any of you guys ever said that to yourself? I don't know if this is worth it. I don't know if they're going to be able to afford it. Or, man, I'm pretty sure this program's too expensive for this type of person. I don't think this, I've got a bad feeling about this call. I don't think they're going to buy. There's so many people that will say no to the prospect for them before the call even starts. Saying no for your prospect before the call is the biggest mistake that you like. I'm going to talk about it like a couple other big ones, but like that's the biggest mistake that you can make, period. Like you have to go into the calls with a different mindset. And I'm going to talk about like how to do it differently. But I just want you to know that if you say no to your prospects before you go into the call, that's the biggest mistake that you can make on sales calls, period. No questions asked. Write that down if you're taking notes. Saying no for them. Number 2, the second mistake that online fitness coaches make when it comes to sales calls and why they're not enrolling clients is too much talking, not enough listening. Too much talking, not enough listening. Guys, I get it. When you go into a call with a potential prospect, like you want to explain how your program works. You want to explain the benefits of your program. You want to explain all of the myriads of ways that you can help this person with their fitness goals, especially if you go into a call with somebody and they're telling you like, I do 2 hours of cardio a day and all I eat is broccoli. It's like, you really do want to explain how like that's not good and that's going to hurt you and that's going to sabotage your goals. And you want to like coach them through that. But yo, guys, write this down. In sales, the person who talks the most loses. Write that down. The person who talks the most loses. If you're on a call with somebody and you're spending all this time and energy explaining, and they're giving you short word answers, and you're explaining, like if you zoomed out from that call and took a look at it from a bird's eye view, it would look like you're way more interested in having them as a client than they are in being your client. Does that make sense? Like if you looked at the actual like written dialogue, if you could take out the conversation, if you could print out the conversation between you and your prospect and you're like speaking novels and they're saying 1 or 2 words as an answer or shorter answers, like the person who talks the most loses because it looks like you're chasing them. And what happens when people get chased? They run away. And so on a call, if you're talking so much because you want to explain your program and the benefits and the features and all of the reasons why you can help, It's really easy to start rambling about your product or service, but the person who talks the most loses. So too much talking is the second mistake that you guys can make on sales calls. Number 3, is this making sense so far? If you guys are getting value and you're tuning into the podcast, just let me know. Let me know. Number three, pitching the program, not the problem. That's the third mistake that online coaches make. Pitching the program and not the problem. Guys, this is a minor distinction that makes a massive difference. And this might hurt some feelings. I'm going to hurt some feelings today. But nobody cares about your program. Nobody cares about how many meal plans you're going to do for them. Nobody cares about the workout program. Like, nobody cares about your program. The only thing people care about is whether or not your program will get them to their goals. It's a minor distinction that makes a massive difference. The only thing that people care about is whether or not your program is going to get them to their goals. And guys, this seems so simple, but it's really, I see a lot of online coaches making this mistake, even with coaches that have been with me for 4 or 5 or 6 months. And I'll hear them pitch. When you're pitching your program, your transformation program, or whatever it is that you call it, when you're explaining how the training plan works, you can't just be like, I'm going to do your training plan and it's going to be 4 weeks, and every 4 weeks I'm going to update it, because nobody cares. You need to explain how your training plan is going to benefit them in their specific goal that they mentioned to you. It is a minor distinction that makes a massive difference. Don't pitch your program, pitch their problem. Okay, so for those of you guys, now, when I say these 3 things, maybe it's you say no for them because maybe there's like a low self-belief, or maybe you're talking too much, or maybe you're pitching the program and not the problem. Now, here's the solutions for those things, okay? So if you're the type of person that always says no for your prospects before they've even had a conversation with you, I want you to switch it up. And the way that you switch it up is this. I'm going to give you a simple exercise that I want you to implement that will lead to more clients, guaranteed. Because what happens is, whether or not we want it, inside of our heads, there's always mental chatter before sales calls. All of us have it. Even if you're like a mindset wizard expert, all of us have mental chatter that happens inside of our heads. So instead of allowing that to be the reality, why don't you take control of the mental chatter? And what you should say before you get on every call is, I intend to enroll this client, or I intend to sell this client, or it's possible I can sell this client. Because some people are like saying, I intend to enroll this client. They're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to. It's possible I will sell this next client. This person could be my next client. And say it out loud. Like, for me, it's like, it's possible I could sell this. This could be my next client. That's literally how I approach every single call. This could be my next client. This could be my next client. And then I just go in with that belief, and I show up with that belief, versus, I don't know if they're going to be able to afford it. I don't know if they're going to have, I don't know if they're going to have money. Everybody's out of money. Another such a good affirmation that you could say before calls is, I could change this person's life. I love that one. Another good affirmation you could say before your calls is, I could change this person's life. Like, this person approached me right now because they're struggling with a problem, and I could have the solution that could help them change their life forever. I could change this person's life. So if you say no before the call, I want you to switch it up, and I want you to make an affirmation about the fact that you could change this person's life, or I intend to enroll this client, or I intend to serve this client, and say it out loud before your call. Okay, so number 2, if you do too much talking, I want you to actively listen. If you do too much talking, I want you to actively listen. So when they say that they want to lose 10 pounds, all you have to do is relay that data back to them in the conversation. So instead of most online trainers, what they do is, if you guys have a phone script, you're going to roll from question to question to question to question, right? A really simple exercise that you guys can implement immediately in all of your calls that will lead to better results. Also, guys, this works in the DMs too. All of your results will get better is, when they say they want to lose 10 pounds, all you have to do is relate it back to them before you ask the next question. All right, so that's amazing. I love it. So you're saying your biggest goal is to lose 10 pounds? So good. Now, what other fitness goals are super important to you? So instead of just like rolling from question to question, actively listen. And the way that you actively listen is you listen for exactly the language that they said about their goals, and then you relate it back to them before moving on to the next question. Super simple exercise that will lead to more sales, guaranteed. Okay, so number 3, If you're the type of person that pitches the program, I want you to pitch to their goals. So when you talk about the training plan that you're going to be doing for them, instead of just saying, oh, I've got a training plan that's it comes with instructional videos and it's in an app and it's going to be really cool and you're going to be able to see your workouts and check in for your workouts, that's all fine and dandy. However, that's not going to enroll them into your program. What is going to enroll them into your program is how this training plan is going to benefit them on their fat loss journey. So when you're talking about the training plan, you want to say something like, okay, so the training plan, it comes with step-by-step tutorial videos. The training plan I'm going to be designing for you is going to be fat loss. My goal is every single workout, I want to be like torching body fat. So I'm going to be designing your training plan to burn body fat so that every single week we're seeing progress on the scale. Is that cool? There's a big difference with that explanation versus the explanation that like gets them lost in features and benefits. Like, yes, you can explain features and benefits, but you need to explain them in a way that speaks directly to their goals. Does that make sense? Cool. Guys, that's it. That's all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is the Change Lives, Make Money Online Trainer podcast, the #1 show for online fitness coaches who are trying to grow a successful online business. If you got value from today's episode and you want to win $1,000 cash, all you have to do is screenshot any podcast episode, share it to your Instagram stories, tag me at BMarkFit. Let me know that you're tuning in. And on March 30th, I'm giving away $1,000 to one of my listeners. Peace, love, protein. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Let's go.